And we got to go to the hotline right away because Joe Rogan is calling from L.A. Hey, Joe.
Hey, what's up, boys?
Hey,
What up, Joe?
What's going on?
How you doing,
It's
man?
just a weird day for everyone.
Hanging.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone said you played a nice clip and said some stuff on your podcast yesterday, too.
Yeah, we played that one. There's one clip that really, for me, defines Patrice. It's when you guys got in trouble for that. Remember that of course you remember the crazy guy who said all the shit about Condoleezza Rice.
Yeah.
Homeless
Charlie, who we fucking loved.
Patrice got on that Fox show with that really humorless lady.
From now.
And just annihilated her, made her look ridiculous, made the whole thing look preposterous, and defined it in the best way that I heard anybody define all this PC bullshit about going after comedians and radio DJs for trying to be funny. You know, and that it all comes from the same place. That funny all comes from the same place. It was brilliant. The way he said it, the way he put it was brilliant. The way he handled that dumb cunt was brilliant. the whole thing was brilliant. It was just perfect. It was perfect Patrice.
He killed her with intelligence besides the comedy. That's what was so brilliant about it.
When she called him a fool, he won.
Yeah.
You know, he goes, "Oh, name calling."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I'm offended." It was so perfect, you know. Yeah, he killed it with intelligence and charm, and just by being a comic and saying, "I'm here speaking for funny," you know. And then when she was like, she tried to like go over his act and paraphrase his act, and he's like, "No, that's not what I said." And then he goes and does the whole angry pirate thing.
Yeah. Oh shit, that was hilarious.
I said you ejaculate her eye and then you kick her in the shin. And she walks around like an angry pirate. And then people were laughing on the crew, and he's like, "How are you laughing?
Right.
This woman is outraged."
Yeah.
Oh god damn, that was fucking funny.
That's a great way to deal with somebody. Like that's how you deal with a dummy like that from now.
Yeah.
Is you don't cower to them or bow to them. You just, if you're belligerent about it, they really have no recourse, and that's what he did, and he destroyed her.
Yeah, it was vintage Patrice.
And that guy liked him. That John Gibbs really liked Patrice. He would have him. I think Fox got mad at that, but John Gibbs really loved Patrice.
Well, John Gibbs had to do an apology for Patrice's performance.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah, he didn't want to. You could just tell, you know, he was in a bad spot. And then, unfortunately, you know, Patrice is sticking up for us and comedians in general, and like you said, Joe, funny. And it turned out that Fox never used him again. But that was Patrice. He didn't give a fuck.
He didn't care.
He didn't care.
What he did was better than Fox using him 100 times.
Right.
Him towing their company line.
Right.
One of my favorite parts is when Patrice was like, "I speak for funny." He goes, "You speak for people that stand in front of that thing and go, 'Oh, today,' blah, 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 blah." He like defined that guy's life.
Yeah.
His fucking life is 40 hours a week he gets in front of a fucking camera and does that. And Patrice just made him look preposterous.
Right.
You know.
Oh man,
He spoke for funny. He fucking said it, and that was true. He spoke for funny.
She had no idea what she was in for because she probably like.
Man,
and I was saying earlier in the show, the worst thing you could do with Patrice is not realize what a bright guy he was, because he was really a brilliant guy. And she didn't understand that he was a smarter person than she was, and he was going to run circles around her mentally. Like, yeah, he's a big, loud guy, but he was going to outthink her, and he really made an absolute asshole out of her, which was fantastic.
Her whole premise was that she was speaking for America, you know, and we are tired. He's like, who?
Yeah. Name names. Name one name.
Are you speaking for America? Are you speaking for America?
Right.
And he
Not speaking for me.
He dismissed her, and if anybody knows the face, the Patrice scrunch, the face, the dismissive face scrunch. You never want to be on the receiving end of the dismissive face scrunch.
He would have been a great silent film actor.
Always followed by
some faces.
but always followed by the Patrice finger.
Yeah. Go away. He's done with you.
Yeah, but he dismissed.
Plowing forward with her pre-rehearsed bullshit. It was beautiful.
He never really caught a full pounding, though. He always, I've gotten full poundings.
Yes.
I've gotten to the point where I've thrown clothes out. Like, I went home and talked to my wife, and she was like, "It's all right. Maybe you should find new friends." You know? His
laugh would diffuse all that though, when you're trying to get at him, and then he would just kill the whole mood with one big over-the-top laugh. You're like, fuck.
And he was so loud.
Right.
Yeah, I remember the first time I met him. I'm at the Comedy Cellar, and I do a set, and I guess he's following me, so he's in the hallway, and I walk out, and he's just shaking his head. He's like, "You drove in for Jersey for that?" And he pulls a 20 out. He goes, "Here's some toll money. I feel bad for you." And that's the first time I'm like, "What a fucking dick!" And then he just starts to laugh. "Come here, man." I'm like, "Fuck you." He's like, "Oh, come here." And he just started laughing. He's like, "Man, that was fucking awful. That was fucking awful." Never forget that.
He was definitely able to tread that line between being just a complete scumbag and being unbelievably charming.
He was. Somehow he was charming after that. And I talked to him.
How the fuck is that possible?
The first time I met him was at the Cellar. I was like a year into comedy, and I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in New York. And I walked
knock that right out of you.
Yeah, I walked in. I had really curly, fro-y hair and a big bushy beard. And him and Keith were talking, and I kind of knew Keith, and I wanted to chime in with my stupid whatever, and I go, "You know what I think?" And he just looks at me with the scrunchy face that you were talking about, Jim, and he goes, "Shut the fuck up, you halfway through a werewolf transformation."
Oh, that's brutal.
Fucking, I didn't speak for 6 months in the Cellar after that.
No, you shouldn't have.
I had my recorder on the side, where Patrice was sitting, and then I go home and listen to the tape. The whole tape was him telling me how much I suck.
That's
great.
Oh, so funny.
First time I met him, Jamie Duke, I might have told the story recently, but Jamie Duke, it was a local booker. He had set up a college. It was me opening, Patrice Middling, and Dom Fig headlining. You remember Dom?
Oh, God.
And I bombed, and Patrice, who I'd never met before, went on, and he didn't do much better. I might have had a 1, maybe he had a 2.5.
Wait, he did a college gig?
Yeah, this is many years ago.
That is the ultimate bad booking.
And then Dom Fig went on and fucking had a -3. And fucking Patrice, I had to drive him back to New York. And he's making fun of me because I was acknowledging that I was bombing. He's like, "You're up there hey, I tell you, no respect." And he's just attacking me like I bombed. And I'm like, "You fucking bombed too." He's like, "No, I didn't." I'm like, "You fucking asshole." I hated him. I hated Patrice when I first. This fucking pompous idiot really thought he did well.
You really couldn't stand him at that moment, right?
Motherfucker, I hated him the first time.
I think that was the way people took you. Hated him the first time.
Yes.
And the next time you see him, you're like, "Oh, there's that guy."
There's that asshole
But if you
guy.
start there with somebody, there's nothing. What else is he going to do?
You're going up.
And then
he'll charm you.
Anything he says.
I don't remember when I liked
he's
him.
all right. I've thought of a bit that he did here that I was able to explain to them, and for a 6 and a 9-year-old to grasp it was kind of weird, but they got it because of his wording, which was about Plaxico or whatever the guy's name was who shot himself.
Yeah. Plaxico Burress.
Yeah, the thing that he said about how he was rich now, living in a mansion, and he had a choice in life. He could hang out with rich white guys and play golf, or hang out with black guys that he grew up with, but who are fun. But in order to do that, he had to carry a gun because those guys are fucking stupid and they all carry weapons. So it was like live amongst your own, but he's not stupid. He's rich now. So he had to carry a weapon in order to hang out with his own people. That's such an acute observation. That's where he would find these cracks in the
little things.
Oh,
yeah,
my
no one else
God.
was thinking
and
about.
And my kids were howling. They got why that was funny.
Wow.
There would be shit that I'd pondered for years, and when the subject came up, I felt all good about being able to discuss it and talk about it. And then I was saying before, in one sentence, he'd wrap it up.
Yeah.
And be like, how did I never see that?
And he'd close the book on it.
Yeah. Done.
He'd say,
Here's
that's it.
Here's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And that's where everyone now has to refer to Patrice versus the people.
Yes, he said president.
O'Neal.
Patrice versus the people for racial harmony.
Hey, was anybody else on that benefit we did that one time for the rescue dogs?
No.
You was at a Steinberg gig, so we did this gig, and it was like we show up, you figured it's for rescue dogs, we're working for free, everyone's going to be paying attention. It was this Manhattan, just who's who shit, and nobody was paying attention. The only 2 people paying attention were 2 cast members of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. This is like fucking 8 years ago. And so I go up first, and like an idiot, I go right into my act, and I just immediately start bombing. Nobody's paying attention to me. I'm working for free. And all I can hear is Patrice laughing.
Oh, shit, yeah.
At the back of the fucking thing, right? Each one of us tried to adjust somehow to kill, and none of us could. We all ate our balls, and then Patrice went up there and opened with talking about how he had a puppy for breakfast and went through the whole preparation of it and just pissed everybody off in the room. And then right when he had everybody listening, he just trashed everybody in the room and this whole thing. So the lady who ran the event with her I run shit fucking dress she had on was telling him, she told him to get off the stage. And he's just going, and he's going, no, I'm not getting upset. She goes, I put this thing together. He goes, bitch, I don't give a fuck. And he just kept going.
Oh,
so then,
man.
No, he wouldn't get off the stage.
That's
and then they turned off the microphone.
No.
And there was a piano on stage. So he sits down at the piano and starts playing the piano, which he can't. And I remember he's just sitting there banging it. And as she's yelling at him, he just looked over, the impish smile ever, just looking over, smiling. And I was just so fucking happy he did it. And I was so mad that I didn't think to fucking, why I went up there like a hat in hand. Hey, my dad's wacky, and just ate my balls.
Dude, one of the funniest days in here ever was he was in here and we started talking about food from around the country. And he started trashing every city's food. And he's going, Chicago deep dish pizza stinks. It fucking stinks. And the phones are just fucking lighting up.
The whole world is hating on him.
Yeah, Texas barbecue. Oh, we got the best barbecue. Right. Fuck your barbecue. Fucking.
You took them all on, though, man.
Oh, my God, it was hilarious.
Fuck yeah. So many good fucking...
But it's like I was saying, like every subject we came up with, half hour.
Twist.
When one of the funniest things was when we were talking about the cruise ship deaths, and how it's just so easy to kill your significant other on a cruise ship. They circle around 3 times and then leave the scene of the crime.
You just got to push them overboard.
In
no
a
evidence.
Giant ocean, and he took it the extra step to do the Rasta man selling rock coats to your significant other. Buy a rock coat, man, and you put it on and push your loved one over the edge, and they just sink right to the bottom. Fucking hilarious.
Did you know Patrice, Jay?
Oh, very, very well. Patrice, one of the first guys who really kind of took me under his wing and brought me around the country with him. So I was able to have the ability to learn from really one of the best. And I'm really, as everyone is obviously pretty broken up about this. And I said on the DeRosa thing, I wanted to call in yesterday to say, because as DeRosa's laughing, DeRosa took maybe some of the worst beatings verbally at the voice of Patrice that I've ever seen somebody take.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know DeRosa, what he looks like, he's built like he has the body of a lowercase I. And I remember Patrice telling him with his sloping shoulders, he said, Joe's dad would never be able to have a serious conversation with him because every time he put his hand on his shoulder, it would just slide off. If he ever he can't wear book bags because they would just be around his elbows the whole time. And then having to talk Joe off a ledge for 30 minutes no, that means he likes you, man. He likes you.
Shit.
It was a real rite of passage to have him bust your balls when you got to New York, and I always loved him for that, man. I really, he's missed, man.
We were at Caroline's one night years ago, and I was hosting. He was on the show, and he went up, and his whole set was smashing me and how I slobber, and he's up there doing his act with a speech impediment. And I've never been as mad as I've ever been in my life, and I went up there, and I was just like, I couldn't even, But there was times at Caroline's, we used to do this bit, me and Patrice, where he would go on, if I was hosting, he'd go on stage, and he'd kill no matter what. And then I'd go on after him, and I'd start, slugging with somebody in the audience, and I would say something like, oh, look at the size of your eyes, one of my dumb bits. And in the back, you'd hear, Jesus, at the top of his lungs. Jesus, maybe he has that eye disease, right? And then I would say something to somebody else, and you'd hear, Jesus, right? And it was the most fun how we would go back and forth, and it was so unforced. He just made it seem like it was supposed to happen.
I remember him sitting back by the where the comics, where the dressing room is at Caroline's, just right where you guys come out, and sitting back there and just trashing Rich as he was doing his act. was sitting there going, "Shut up, shut up."
Was she with us that horrible New Year's Eve?
Yes.
And we went to the worst restaurant of
Oh,
our lives.
yeah, you had a mouthful of like herring or some shit.
Wait, was that with you guys then? We met you and your ex-girlfriend years ago.
Yeah.
2000, we were off the air at that point.
We all went out. That was it. Yeah, it was with Melinda at the time.
Yes.
And we were walking down the street, and there was some homeless people, of course, out on the street. And we passed by, I guess, a couple of black homeless people. And then Melinda pulled out a $5 and gave it to one of the white homeless people, and Patrice just laid into her. Says, "Oh, look at you, you're a sweet little racist," and just started fucking pounding her. It was hilarious.
I mean, we're all established guys here. Does any one of us really want to follow the guy?
Right, no.
No, he used to hold court with. He actually was so funny. He could get comedians who are always trying to top people's stories to actually shut up and become audience members.
Yeah.
Like that time he went at it with the transvestite out in front of that.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Dude, it was literally just some transvestite was coming down the street, and he was just in one of those moods where he felt like fucking with somebody, and he fucked with this transvestite. And she immediately came right back at him. Said, remember that line? She said, "You got so many spaces between your teeth, looks like your tongue's in jail." That's what started it.
Jesus Christ.
And he hit her with shit just as big. Dude, and we just sat there. It was a comedic version. You ever see that tape of Biggie when he was just got in that rap battle in the middle of like the purest form?
Right.
It was like the purest form of comedy. There was no security. There was no crowd. Like a crowd just developed around what the fuck was happening, and he just sat there, and she hit him with a couple of stock lines, and he like Ali leaned on the ropes, let the she punch herself out, and then he just fucking destroyed her. But it was unbelievable. I remember just really in that moment going, this guy is truly special.
Mm-hmm.
You're really not going to see another one. That was a one-off.
Yeah.
That was it.
I loved being on when he was on because he'd get like we would lock horns on stuff and get like I told him once I wasn't attracted sexually to black women, and he tested me for like 2 hours, saying that meant I'm gay. He's like, it means I'm gay. And he said, so he would go like, and he started doing this bit where he'd be like, please bring up like, and it was like a lawyer asking for. He was like, please bring up fatbooty.com. Like, sites
Go to
that
the
he knew of.
websites,
He's like, really? Nothing? There's nothing that you can, you know what, bring up? Yeah.
Look at that. That's juicy.
Pissing on blacktits.net. And he'd come up and he'd go, this? You don't like this?
References, man.
But we would go at it here. And then, we'd walk. The best part, though, was walking down to the subway with him. And then we'd stand on, like, 6th Avenue and 7th, or 57th, and just stand there for, like, 4 hours and just talk.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And he'd say openly sexual things to every woman that walked by, and they would all smile.
You look delicious.
Yeah, he's just like, look at you with those pants. What kind of panties you got on? Pink. Bye. Good morning.
He would hold court on a street corner.
Yeah, when we would do the walkover at the old station,
right?
And we'd be walking to XM. And Patrice would just stop and talk to any girl that was walking, and they would engage him.
Yes.
They would talk to him. And it's like, why aren't they running?
He would disarm you because he was funny and silly and he wasn't threatening. And they were just, like, looking at him,
but
you would think he would be threatening.
Right. I mean, just his physical presence would be threatening, and the ability
that's what it was. It was the relief. It's like, oh, no, here's this black guy. He's got kind of a sweet voice. I want to hug him now.
We were at the comic strip one time, and there was a girl he liked at a Christmas party, and he's like trying to play hard to get. He's like, I'm not going to talk to her. And he didn't talk to her, and she didn't come over. And I said, you fucking idiot. You think that you're being, like, hard to get. She's happy you're not talking to her. She doesn't like you. He really thought that she was being intrigued by his evasiveness. He was just happy that this fucking fat creep was leaving her alone.
Do you remember the fight we got in Brazil? Man, were you there in Brazil? We had a rule in Brazil: if you got a lady of the evening, you put her in a car behind you because they're a bunch of fucking criminals. You know what I mean? They'll
you don't
drop
want them
stuff,
throwing drugs and blaming
drugs,
you.
and there's roadblocks everywhere, especially on the weekends. The cops just set up a roadblock. They look in, see a tourist with one of the girls, and they pat you down. Then you get to pay them off. We had this rule, but Patrice was Patrice. the fucking mayor of Brazil, fucking Rio.
After one day.
Well, he spoke
Everyone
fucking
knows. 2
Portuguese words, and it sounded like he spoke fluent Portuguese. Because he would slow it down. He'd go, tudo bem, obrigado. What the fuck? Shut the fuck.
Yeah, he really thought he was a man about town. It's like, they want your money, asshole.
You guys were doing gigs in Brazil?
No, jokes.
Fucking hookers.
We're banging $30 whores. Yeah. Yeah, that was 3 to 1 back then, too.
Dude,
right?
we would take fucking 100-milligram Viagras and go to the whorehouse and just not come until like the 3rd or 4th girl, because once you blew the load, you were done. And I remember me and him standing there in our robes upstairs in fucking whatever that thermos was. Monte Carlo. And I had a fucking 100-milligram Viagra hard-on poking out the front of my fucking robe. And you couldn't see my dick, but you could see the tent. And me and him were just standing there, and we're both just looking at the tent in my robe, and we're howling at exactly where we are and what we're doing. We're like in a third-world country taking dick pills and fucking prostitutes for $20 American dollars.
Holy shit. You flew in for that?
Oh, my God,
yes. You didn't hear about the Brazil years?
Oh, yeah.
Joe,
that was like a 2-3 year period with these guys.
Joe, more than once.
Yeah. How many years was it? It was about a 3-year period.
No, it was when we were off the air. I never went once we came back on, because I felt like I had too much to lose and things could go wrong so quickly there. I think we did 3 trips. Once I stayed in the Sheraton and twice the Rio Othon.
The Othon. Yeah, but Patrice, man, and Brazil, oh, God, was he funny. I remember the last day we ran around and just took pictures of everything for our families. Like, we spent...
like you were really there
I had changes of clothes. I was like, let me put this shirt on. Up at the fucking Cristo, the Jesus statue. But
that's hilarious.
We would... I remember we got in the fucking car. We're in the car. Yeah. He puts one of the... These cars are small. The cabs are real small. Right? They're just these small little shit cars.
Yeah.
He gets in the front. You imagine how big he is. Then he throws his girl in the back with me. With me. And the rule is no whores in the same car. And I'm going, Patrice, don't put the girl. Put her in the car. She doesn't want to go in the car by herself. She wants to go with Patrice. Right? He goes, get in the car. And I'm like, Patrice, get her out of the car. And get her. And we're driving. Just go. And all of a sudden he goes, shut the fuck up, Bobby. And very rarely hear Patrice snap for real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you shut the fuck up. Then we look and there's a roadblock, just cops. And I'm like, great.
Oh, fuck.
And they pull us over and he's nervous now. Everybody's shitting their pants. They got fucking machine guns, but their finger is on the trigger, which is, you're not supposed to
have your finger on the trigger.
So they take us out, and Patrice is, everybody's fucking, I'm in like, you fucking cocksucker.
Brazilian prison.
We're gone.
Yeah.
And he's out there, they got the girl out there, they're talking Portuguese to the girl. You don't know what she's ratting us out, throwing us on the bus. The fucking cab driver, Patrice, and then they get to me. I got 1,000 real in my pocket, which they're taking that. That's fucking gone. You know, and then I tried to assimilate because I'm such a worm. I tried to, because I have puffy lips and I might look a little Spanish. I just said "sí" because I didn't. I said, you understand they have guns on us. Okay,
Yeah.
The guy's patting me down. He touches every pocket. I'm like, see. I said C around 87 times. All of a sudden, on the 50th C, you hear Patrice go. He starts losing it. Oh, shit. You get back in the car, he goes, you fucking idiot. He's like, if you said C one more time. Shit. He is a funny motherfucker, man.
Some foreigner being frisked by the NYPD just standing there going, yes. What an idiot he'd look like. That was you, Bobby.
I was scared.
Fucking hilarious.
You know, Patrice would talk his way out of jail.
Yeah.
You guys would actually do a fundraiser to fucking get a lawyer to get him out. You'd leave me there. We're working on it, Kelly.
You'd love it.
You remember when the seller tried to kick him out? The seller kicked him out, and then he hung around the corner, so we would all do our sets and then leave because we wanted to hang around with him. So
Wait a minute, why did the seller kick him out?
Well,
he had an argument with Manny, I think, but it was a mistake. It was a misunderstanding. I watched it happen, and Manny mistook Patrice was asking him if he had false teeth, and we would tease each other all the time there. And it was getting to. I think that was something Manny was sensitive about because he was 70, and it was one of the only things I guess that was like his Achilles. And Patrice really didn't know.
Oh yeah. I wasn't saying anything bad about this.
No, I know.
Man, I got kicked out for a minute. Everybody, at some point, you're late or whatever, you do whatever, and then they got to throw down the gauntlet. So,
I think he didn't want to come back. I'm saying. I think that he just said, "Fuck this, I'm not going back," and he just didn't want to go back.
Well, all I know is, so now we would just all go hang where he was at. So then they had to let him back in. You couldn't beat him.
Oh, so because everybody was leaving
because we were all going to leave, yeah. And then they want people hanging around or whatever, so they had to let him back in. And then he figured that out, going, that was kind of golden handcuffs that they let me back in. So then what he did was he was back in, but he wouldn't put in for spots. And we'd just go down there and hang out. It was always chess with him.
Oh, yeah.
Jim, you tweeted a picture yesterday, you and Patrice on a movie set, and how miserable he was, or something like that.
Furry
Did he do something
Vengeance.
on there?
We fucking did, which is not a great film.
Right.
We played
Great.
construction workers, and we had this. They gave us honey wagons.
I saw you guys in two construction hats.
He just starts laughing. Fire Vengeance. We play construction workers.
But I was like the codependent wife. He was just embarrassing to be associated with because we had to go in and do our first meet with the director, and we had sat around all day. And I'm trying to hey, we're doing a movie, and it's a Brooke Shields movie, and we're sitting down, and he's just. You're
like the battered wife making excuses.
I'm like, you know what? He's tired.
The wife of the alcoholic.
Everybody hated him on that shoot. He was so.
Shit. He never had a time like when you first come to New York and start being in showbiz or whatever. Everybody has some awful cringeworthy memory of meeting a booker or whoever and shooting up too quickly from your chair. Oh, hi, thank you. Yes, thank you. He never lived that moment in his whole life. He could be slumped in a chair, and Steven Spielberg walks up to him and he looks at him like, "Do I have to take my hand out of my pocket to shake your hand?" How you doing?
Uppity, I think it's the word you're looking for. He's uppity. But a good kind of uppity.
He was a very down energy uppity.
But what Billy was saying about Patrice,
yeah,
I was thinking, that just reminded me when we started doing the show, and before we did Tough Crowd, we did it on NBC a couple of times. And I remember I was always like, oh, don't leave him alone. He was just so new to the business. It was like the only thing he'd ever had. And I knew, don't leave him alone with any of these fucking NBC executives.
Oh, shit, yeah.
And then I remember one time just walking in it, and it was like a soundproof office. Like every time I left him alone with Lauren, anybody, something horrible would happen. But just a soundproof office, and it was like some guy from the West Coast was in town. It was just him and the guy in the West Coast. And he was sitting there, and I looked over at the guy, and he had this horrified look on his face. And Patrice was talking as if, there were a couple of guys having a conversation. And I just walked in, and I heard, pussy and bitches. He was just, spouting to this, white guy in his 50s in a fucking suit. But it's just like as if he's having a conversation with fucking, Will at the cellar. Yeah. And it's just and the guy just had this horrified, his face was pasty white. He gave no respect.
No. That's
what he would do, though.
Yeah.
It's a pretty accurate description. He gave him no respect.
Right, yeah.
People that didn't deserve it.
Another big producer once, I remember at the cellar, this guy was doing a movie, and it was like, hey, Patrice. And I thought, I still said there had to be a slight scintilla of non-destructiveness. I go, Patrice, this guy's doing it. And the guy goes, hi, I heard a lot about you. And Patrice is at the bar at the cellar, and he turns around like fucking royalty like this. And then just turns away.
Oh, a little dainty handshake.
Yeah.
Do you know one time you had a meeting at Comedy Central? And, you put on your I'm going to get a deal shirt and you go in there and you tap dance and you try to sell your stupid idea for a show. He went in there and spent 45 minutes trashing the executives for putting Mind of Mencia on the air. And he just wouldn't let up. And then that was it. The meeting ended. That was just basically I think he pitched his show in the final 3 minutes.
He got the opportunity to go in there and decided he was just going to bash the show. Oh, man, that's fucking great.
Just kept, and at the end, he pitched his show for 3 minutes. And I remember asking him why he did it. I go, why would you do that? And he just started laughing. I was thinking about all that stuff. One time Bobby, do you remember the time that comedian came to town. He had the metal hand.
What?
Remember that? So this guy comes to town. He was missing his left hand, so he had like one of those 3-pronged left hand things. Everybody sees it. Nobody wants to say anything. And the great thing was it was his left hand. So when you met the guy, you just stuck out your right hand, and there was no problem. But everybody's thinking, what happened to his hand, right? So after he meets like 10 comics, he then meets Patrice, and Patrice sees the guy, and when he goes to shake his hand, instead of sticking out his right hand, he sticks out his left hand. And the guy with the fake hand, like just out of instinct, stuck out his left hand and then sort of froze for a second. And then Patrice, with his big, dainty fingers, just grabbed one of the metal tongs and sort of shook it. And there was all this awkwardness, and then Patrice just goes, "What happened to your hand, man?" And like that's why I loved the name of his last special, Elephant in the Room, because that's what he always did.
Yeah. I loved his bits about being paranoid as a black guy, like not one. If he threw away a soda,
that was fucking brilliant.
He didn't throw it out on the street because it might land next to somebody, like some dead girl.
Dead white girl.
Yeah.
He'd be the Coca-Cola killer.
The Pepsi Cola rapist. He's like, go over a hill and land by a dead white girl. The Pepsi Cola rapist.
And he'd always get a receipt, so it was marked what time it was.
By gum.
That's actually, you know what? I think there was some truth in that, too.
No,
That
there was.
fucking,
You can tell. That's why it was funny. But that's what it was like a totally other thing.
Yeah.
It's like I remember reading a thing about Rocky when they made that movie and that Stallone was peddling the script. Nobody wanted to make it.
Right.
And then whoever made it, the guy, producer, said he's reading yet another boxing picture. Like there's so many. Who's going to want to make this? And then he goes, and then 3 pages in, this guy's talking to his turtles. And I'm like, what is this? And it made him pay attention. That's what Patrice was like. He's like, here's another big black comedian on stage.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch him with one eye open. And then he's talking about this Pepsi Cola rapist thing and these silly, weird, totally different insight into being a huge black guy than anybody. And you go, wait a minute, a whole other thing.
I thought you were going into a different direction where you were saying trying to convince him of something was as frustrating as talking to turtles. Like you have a better shot at winning an argument with them.
But we all agree he was black.
He was black.
At the end of this, we're all going to say
he was black.
He was at Caroline's one night, and there was a Christmas party there. Fucking 25 people and their female boss. So, of course, like, you're waiting for it. You're like, when's he going to attack the boss? And finally, he gets around to it, and he goes, let me tell y'all how she likes to get fucked. He goes, see how she wear her hair up in that bun? She likes to let that shit down. She likes a dude to wrap that shit around his fist 5-6 times and pull her head down like a horse and go, bitch, shut the fuck up. Fucking all of her employees are laughing at her. She's staring at Patrice, dude, like Venom. And Patrice just goes, bitch, don't give me boss eyes. I don't work for you.
Fucking maniac.
Do you know, last night somebody from England, a comedian from England, this is how much this guy's loved, flew all the way over here on his own dime to come to the funeral today, and he was telling this story. They were doing a TV taping in London. So, of course, Patrice doesn't give a fuck. He's treating this like, Europe's Friday night videos. He doesn't give a shit, right? And for some reason, they had a book in the green room. I guess it had a list of all these comedians that were so far down the ladder, they didn't have a manager or an agent. They just had their phone number. Their home phone number. So Patrice, instead of preparing for his set, starts calling these guys over in England. He called one guy up, had a puppet. And he goes, yeah, how much to book the puppet? I just want to get the puppet. I don't want to book you. He asked another guy, how much would it cost to get you to just stop?
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah, so nobody was paying attention to the taping. They were all gathering around Patrice, once again, holding court, and everyone just laughing. Like, call another one, call another one. Just effortless. I totally butchered that story, but
that's him.
That is him.
Funny, man.
The same guy. It's Brendan Burns is who you're talking about.
Yeah.
English comic.
Yeah, Brendan Burns.
We were doing the Nasty Show in Montreal, and Brendan came over to hang out backstage, and he was going off about English comedy and how good the scene is. And Patrice just goes, "English comedy stinks," and did a 10-minute just improv sketch of an English comedy club, and he's just going, "Coming to the stage, Ian Eaglepuss," and he's just making up these ridiculous things. Get the fuck out of here, you stink. Y'all are 30 years behind us. I was the king of England when I went over there. It was so fucking funny, man.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, and you're like, wow,
damn.
I wish I had anything in my act half that fucking funny.
Yeah.
And he just said that all off the top of his goddamn head. When he found out I was Egyptian, he'd call me up, like, on Thanksgiving. He'd be like, "Joe, you want to come over for Thanksgiving?" I go, "I can't. I'm doing stuff with my family." He goes, "You know what, Joe? I'm tired of you pretending you're white." And he'd go, "Everybody knows you're a dirty nigger African, just like the rest of us."
I remember when I sent Patrice a text that I was having a kid. He calls up. I see him call him. I think he's going to congratulate me. He says, but the first thing he says, "Please tell me the bitch is white." That's all he said.
Oh, shit.
I'll never forget. I was at the comic strip Christmas party, and I brought this girl in. She was really hot, and Patrice is just looking her up and down. He goes, "You got this in the bag?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "So I could say whatever I want?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "You sure? I don't want to ruin it for you."
Why would you say yeah? Why would you say yeah?
I was like, "No, it's fine." So he just went over. He goes, "You like this guy?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's really funny." He's like, "Do you know his opening joke is the difference between alcohol and marijuana?" You realize that? She's like, "Yeah, he's really funny." "Yeah, I know that one. That's good." "You realize he does voices of puppets on TV?" That's like my favorite show. And he goes, "You're just a dumb bitch." And just walks away. And the girl's like, "How can you say he's your friend?" I'm like, "He's joking." She's like, "How is that a joke?" He just called me a dumb bitch.
Holy fuck. Fucking A.
He ended a couple of my relationships early.
Yeah.
He did, yeah.
Early.
Just, you'd see him get that look in his eye, like, and you didn't know what mood Patrice is going to be, and he could be the most lovely, like, little angel, or just, he would just slowly turn. It was like slow-mo, and I saw him sizing up the dude I was with, and I'm like, no, running over. It was too late. Just trashed this guy's life. The guy, I don't think he ever got an erection again. I'm serious.
I remember when we went on the virus tour once, and
Yeah.
we were sitting at the table signing people's shit afterwards.
Right.
And I'm sitting next to Patrice, and some teenage kid says, "I'm only 15," and he was like bragging about how he was a teenager. And then he asked me to sign his underwear, like, and he pulled his underwear up out of his jeans, and he asked me to sign his underwear. So I'm like, I don't give a shit. I go for it with the Sharpie, and Patrice slaps the Sharpie out of my hand, literally, and goes, "What? You're going to sign a teenage boy's underwear? You know how fast you're going to be in jail?" Like, he smacked me. I said, "What are you doing?"
Did I tell that story about him telling that girl to shut up? Her voice.
That could be 1,000 stories.
Was that at the cellar or no?
That time we were at the cellar, and those girls were all talking. I think I told that when I called in. I'll tell it again. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah,
it don't matter.
Just sitting there, like, it's a loud bar, and, when their voices go up, it gets fucking, and he just goes, they're sitting there talking like, and he keeps glancing over there as he's trying to talk to me, and then he did that glance for an extra second. I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going to say something. And he just picked out one, he just goes, "Ma'am, miss, ma'am." And she finally looks, and she goes, "What?" And he goes, "Your voice." And she goes, "Is it loud?" And he goes, "It's piercing." Right? And he just starts, and just basically tells her to shut up. So then these girls are fucking gorgeous, too. So her two friends want to come to her rescue. So all three of them come over to Patrice. I'm like, oh, fuck, how the hell is he going to deal with this? And I don't know what he did. Within 30 seconds, he had them auditioning to figure out who had the best sexy phone sex voice.
Holy shit.
And they were auditioning for him, and he was sitting there judging and telling each one of them why, despite their looks, guys didn't find him attractive after like a third date. And he was so in there. It was Hannibal Lecter. He was in their fucking heads.
Hannibal Lecter.
It was awesome.
Spike Lee loved him too, and he was in 25th Hour. And Spike uses the same guys over and over and over.
Yeah, really?
And yeah, he does. I've seen all of his films.
I don't see Spike in here, do you?
Well, there's a good reason. There's a reason for that, Dave.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, please. This is called. This is a black bridge that was burned.
Oh, I see.
You think it was just white people he offended? He was. He had a pilot. Like, Spike wanted him to do a project, or to hold off on a project, like because it was between Patrice and another guy. But Spike really liked him, and Spike's like, please just don't go out to L.A. for pilot season. And Patrice just refused to bend. He's like, I got to go out for pilot season. And Spike's like, I just want you to. Can I just keep you on hold? Because he wanted to use him for that or something else. And Spike actually called him personally, which you really don't do. And he goes, look, I really would like you to do this, to hold out for me. And he goes, well, you're calling me. That's, this is my agent should be talking to you. This is my agent expressing my wishes.
Oh, my God.
And Spike's like, you won't do it? And he goes, no. And Spike goes, all right, then. And hung up on him. And that was the last time he spoke to Spike Lee.
I've never heard a revisionist white man telling two black men talking story. That'd be like my mom describing a reach around donkey punch. You took all the spirit and emotion out of it. And then Spike said,
One gentleman puts his penis in the...
Well, I didn't want to jig it up too much.
You may have the road, Patrice, by my liege.
How was I supposed to say it? And the one motherfucker's on the phone.
Now you got my attention.
Like,
Was all,
check it out.
Yeah, like set the stage. It's Brooklyn in the deserted playground.
Hung up that motherfucker, ate chicken, looked at white pussy. I don't do good black impressions. I just do me.
That's pretty good right there.
Thank you very much.
That was pretty good.
Oh, fuck. You see it on Twitter, and you see how many people love the guy.
Yeah, but how many paid to see him, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
I hate to be the
They come out of the
I hate to be the douche and bag of the conversation here, but yeah, everybody loves him for free. We got a purple suit to buy and a gigantic coffin, all right? Let's make things happen. All right? Enough hemming and hawing about it.
Oh, my God.
We got bills.
Oh, my God.
999. What? Oh, sorry. That was the last time I was here. No, but I mean, honestly, it's true. There's a lot of fans and.
Oh, my God.
What? Well, what were you guys talking about before I got here?
No, Patrice, we didn't bring it up. You're the first one to bring it up.
Yeah.
Oh, the president's in town. You're right.
Yeah.
There's so many other
We're
things
talk
happening.
about that.
Holy
Purple
suit
and a giant coffin. Purple suit and a giant coffin.